Okay, Dwight, need you to get
Yes.
settled into one place because we can hear all turning and all of that, okay?
Mm.
Mark, it's so good to see you.
Well, likewise, likewise. Good to see you too.
I love, worship, and adore you. Dwight, it's so good
Well,
to hear your voice. I got to see you personally sometime.
How
yeah,
you doing?
work that
But
out.
I know Mark because he's here in Detroit and he is so smart. He makes all these white folks stand down. He's fucking,
Okay.
they
Okay.
salute when he's in the room.
We're coming up now, everybody. Coming up, coming up, coming up. Hey, hey, hey. I'm glad to have everyone here. Hey, 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 hey. We're coming up in 10. Okay. 5. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Want to welcome my Instagram audience, the Santita Jackson IG family. Hey, hey, hey. Sending you all so much love. And Blue Sky, santitajackson.vsky.social. Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and at Santita J on Facebook. Let's talk, everybody. We are leading in the headlines in Chicago. And why? Well, because President Trump says that he is going to send the troops in to quell violence, which has been on a downward spiral, quite frankly. But he's planning to do this in many cities, but somehow or another, Chicago's become ground zero for all of this. There are many, many reasons for this. Chicago's a very interesting city, though. Even though many of us who are on the progressive or just the freedom side pushed back against the Chicago Democratic machine, one of the remaining vestiges of the machine is that the city was organized politically down to the house, block by block, house by house, apartment by apartment. You were known by the Democratic machine, the most awesome political machine really built in modern American history. And so Chicago politics is something that all Chicagoans get involved in. But the good thing about this moment in world history and in American history is that everybody's got a dog in this fight. It seems that everybody is talking about politics and talking about really sharing resources. How do we distribute resources? That's really what politics is, everybody. So, what do you think about them sending the troops to Chicago? I know we've talked about it a lot, but what has come up is this. There are many people who have decried really the sending of the troops. We feel like this is the beginning of a police state. But then there are many Black people in particular in Chicago who say, wait a minute, crime is out of hand. Now, while many of us are saying, look, we're citing the statistics, we're looking at the data, crime is going down. It's gone down a lot. But crime can't go down enough if you're the victim of it. Crime can't go down enough if your neighbor has been victimized. There's that. If you are fearful in any way for any reason, that really begs our attention. But what should also beg our attention is where this is going. We were talking about a young man, Therese Riley, in Maryland, who was walking about wearing a crossbody bag. The FBI agents who were on the street saw this bag. They felt that it was too big. They arrested him and put him in jail for a week. Even the judge was appalled by that. And a lot of this is happening. So with ICE and the FBI and the National Guard and the police present, is there an upside? What are the downsides? Many people are saying that many Black people are saying Democrats do not care. It's a very interesting article in The Root that talks about this. It says that surprisingly, the headline is not all Black folks are mad about Trump possibly sending National Guard to Chicago. It begins, Chicago is the latest city on President Trump's federal takeover checklist. And although he hasn't pulled the trigger yet, folks online have interesting thoughts on the state of crime in Chicago and of sending the military, as Trump has done with Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., is even necessary. While J.B. Pritzker, the governor, and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson continue to dismiss the need for the National Guard, Uh, there are about 29% of this population that is Black. Many Black people are saying, hold up, wait a minute. This is not such a bad idea. And you can see it all over social media. So I want to know, what say you? What say you? So everybody, like and share the show. Hey Bernadette. Hey Bernadette, like and share the show. Like and share the show. I want to know what your thoughts are. Like and share the show. Of course, we are joined by Dwight McKee, brilliant activist for 60 years. Of course, we have got attorney Mark Fancher. Cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are. Brilliant author and social critic, civil libertarian. We're going to start with you, one of the elected police commissioners in Detroit, Michigan. Brilliant attorney Linda Bernard. You have really put forth sentiments that a lot of people in the community share. While it might not have been popular on this panel, you have said, look, we need some help. So I want you to help me to understand. Help me to understand as we welcome Tio Hardiman to the chat. What are your thoughts? I know you are running to a meeting right now, so I'm going to give you the floor to make your statement for about 5 or 10 minutes or so, and then I know you're running off to your meeting. So what say you? Some people are saying that there are upsides to this. What do you think?
There are definite upsides. And the reason why I say that is that I watched your mayor on TV as he was sort of jumping up and down the other day about, because of his enthusiasm as he pontificated about the fact there will be no troops in Chicago. And of course, your governor was standing there. And then later in the day, he was back on the news, the governor walking along the riverfront there, with his security and all that stuff. He's lost a lot of weight. So I guess that's what he's talking about. He's not telling how, but anyway, he says he's walking all the time now. And so Chicago's such a great city. It's always been my favorite city in the United States. Now everybody has their own paradiglio, but mine is Chicago. Because to me, Chicago's a real city. It's not like LA or Detroit. Detroit is a town compared to Chicago. And LA is not a real city either, because everything closes to me. It closes at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. And, they're sort of forcing their will on you as a community. I like the fact that your bars, your clubs, your restaurants stay open till 4 a.m. I like that. I'm an adult and I like participating in adult activities. Having said that, I'm not opposed to the military coming into Chicago, or even what happened in DC, because we can see the benefits of it. We can talk that talk if we want to, but in the meantime, we can see that things are better in DC as a result. If they're not doing anything but just picking up trash, I don't care what they're doing. It gives the community confidence and so forth. I don't understand this mass hysteria. As you know, during the DNC, which you attended, I attended, the Democratic National Convention met there. There were troops on the ground. Nobody said a word. They're just there, just standing there, really. They're just sort of like a peacekeeping force. They're not directly engaged in law enforcement, but they're just there. And people act differently in general when they see people in the military. Even when they just walk into an ordinary business meeting, if they have on their uniform and so forth, there's a different aura, because military people are disciplined and obviously have the ability to do lots of different things. But no, I'm not opposed to it. I'm glad they're in DC. I'm glad Washington is getting cleaned up. I'm glad that the monument, everything's getting spiffy and everything. And even the president said he's going to change all the grass and all that and make it really beautiful. It's our nation's capital. It should be clean. And Chicago is one of our.
But Washington is clean, Linda.
Not what it's going to be. Not like what's going to be now.
No, but Washington has always been a very clean city. It has been.
I thought better, but not like it should be as a capital.
No,
as there are cities in America that are cleaner than DC, and you and I both know that.
DC is a very well kept and very well maintained city. It is.
I'm not as impressed with all the homeless people sitting on the ground and all this stuff.
But is that DC's problem, or is that really? To me, that's the systemic poverty.
No,
You
it's
know,
not.
that was, yeah, it is. I mean, that's
But
something.
it's not. It's not. People
it-
choose that.
no,
I
they do.
told you the other day about the story where I gave the guy $20 on Sunday at the jazz thing, and I said, "Well, why don't you go?" And I said, "I want you to eat with this. Don't buy any alcohol or
But
anything."
Linda,
But I'm
in
here
Philly,
because I want to be. I want to sleep on the ground.
Linda, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Chicago's becoming this way. Los Angeles, New York. More and more people work hard every day, and they cannot afford to live in these cities. It's too expensive. But no, but stay right there, Linda, because before you go, I'd like to have someone respond. Dwight, would you like to say anything?
To that, no,
Yes.
not about Washington being
Well, not to
Queen
Washington, but I
City.
mean just to what you've heard Linda say.
Linda's always so interesting to me. She has a very, very unique position on almost everything. Um,
Jesus Christ.
I think that this is overblown in a couple of ways. One is that they could really stop this whole issue. All it takes is about 15 black soldiers to bust up into one of those white clubs and arrest about 30 or 40 of them white kids, and they'll change that law. This rule will be changed. Be just like the Panthers and the Second Amendment. As soon as the Panthers got guns, that changed. Secondly, with Trump, it's a pretext. Is he couldn't beat the Russians, couldn't negotiate that deal. And so, let's get shorty. Let's beat up somebody who we can beat up on so I can at least look strong, even though I kind of a smaller opposition. And then thirdly, it's a pretext. Well, pretext for the Epstein case, which is going to really bite him in the behind. That Epstein thing, he's one of the few situations that he has no control over, even as loyal as his base is. He has no real control over that. And prying minds want to know. And then finally, in his mind, there's a pretext for Gestapo. He really wants to convert the military into the red shirts. But Illinois is a different animal. The United States is a different animal than Germany was. Germany was suffering from a lack of identity. The United States has an excessive identity in terms of patriotism. And so they will not be as beguiled as Germans was in its move for him to try to take over the government.
I know you've got to leave, Attorney Bernard, but I want you to respond to that. And just give us a closing statement before you go.
I think you've gone so far afield. I mean, I don't know why people can't just focus on the issue. The issue is crime. The issue is unbelievable murder rates. The issue is cities that have been turned over, quite frankly, other than in narrow areas, to gangs and stuff like this. That's the issue. You have a $1.5 billion budget in Chicago. Chicago should be pristine and should not have any of these issues. You have money, you got black mayor, black city council, black everything, and still we keep throwing money at it, but we're not solving the problem. Just like with education. So we need to try something new, because what we've been doing is not working, and it's not gonna work. But you see how it worked in DC. Everybody stood down in DC when they saw those soldiers, even though they're just standing there, just kicking it. They're not doing anything. But it makes a difference. People got, maybe I better act right. Maybe I better not carry this gun. Maybe I better do. I mean, you have no shootings in a whole week, no killings, no nothing. I mean, unbelievable. And I think it's sort of continued. I don't know what the stats are, but all of this hocus pocus about Epstein and this and that. I don't know why we even go there. We just build sophistry on top of sophistry. All this great imagination that we have, that we just attach everything to everything like glue. We're going to stick it on you. We're going to stick it on you. Has nothing to do with the issue.
Well,
He
so
doesn't
let
care
me
about
ask you this.
Epstein.
Are
If he,
you
and if wait a minute, and if the
okay?
Democrats cared about Epstein, they'd have done something about it the 1,500 days that they were in office. So that's a non, you know,
No one's going to do
a
anything
non
about
sequitur.
Epstein. Nobody's going to do anything about Epstein because Epstein, everybody, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents have exposure. So let's just take that off the table. This is not a partisan issue. This is about abuse and blackmail. So keeping the issues where they are. What do you want your final statement to be? Because I want you to come back, and I know
Just
you're running today.
just that I want us to, as a community, to prosper and always keep an open mind. And if you will, go for the goal. If you can make your community better, use what means you have that are constitutional and legal to do that. Just do it. I mean, and try something different. If it has worked apparently in DC for the last couple of weeks or almost 3 weeks now, and it can work anywhere. I'm not suggesting that soldiers, be able to arrest people or detain people, but obviously you're not going to do something that's illegal in front of them. You ain't crazy. So, we stay in the same old box. It's black, whites versus blacks, but it's black people that are getting killed. As I said to you the other day, Santita, we got Black Lives Matter printed on the street in Washington D.C. Huge letters, 2 blocks of letters, and yet it doesn't matter. But Black lives don't matter because we're continuing to be killed. We're continuing to be molested, carjacked. They don't matter, and our youth. It's just not working. Our education system sucks. I mean, we need to deal with the real, and I think we just need to change. You try something new.
Attorney Linda Bernard has spoken. Teal Hardiman, what say you? Unlock the Linda, you can stay as long as you wish, but I know you're running. And Teal, what say you?
Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. So when it comes down to what Trump is proposing, and he might end up carrying it out, it's like I understand what the attorney just talked about as well. But the history of the military occupation, the history of a police state, it doesn't resonate well with our people. A lot of people, not just our people. So it's kind of difficult. But the fact of the matter is that you do have high levels of gun violence in Chicago. The National Guard would be a temporary fix, because it's not like they can stay here forever and have a presence. So I believe, once again, that Donald Trump should go to the drawing board and have a sit down with the mayor and J.B. Pritzker, the governor, and say, look here, what can I do to help you guys out? Is it like, do you all need more resources in different areas, developing parts of the inner city, more opportunities for the young people, instead of coming out here with just a strong military presence? But when you talk, I talk to a lot of people in the neighborhoods. Some of them are in favor of the National Guard, and definitely some of them are opposed. But what can you really do? Who can offer another total? Like, even with my organization, everybody keep mentioning violence interrupters, but they're not mentioning my organization. I'm the creator of that. Like I talked about the other day with you, I own the patent, and they're gonna have to stop using my name because it'll make it look like we didn't do everything we should have done. The areas that we're overseeing in Chicago right now, over the Labor Day weekend, I only recorded 1 shooting in the 6 areas that we work in, because I had all my guys out there working around the clock, making sure that we caught a lot of those conflicts on the front end. So my recommendation to the mayor, the governor, and the president is it's all about cooler heads prevail. It's not just no cookie cutter approach to the ongoing issue of gun violence here in Chicago, Baltimore, Memphis, or even LA or Washington. It's like the gun violence has been around for decades. It's not going to be fixed just because, or straightened out just because you bring the National Guard here for 1 week. It's not going to happen like that. But then Donald Trump would tout them numbers and act like, hey, look, he did something special. But I have to speak up for the victims. The victims might see it another way. They're looking at it from another lens, Santita. But that's my experience working with everybody here in Chicago and talking to people and interviewing on the news about it. And, I just believe, and I hope one day that we can organize as people, African-American people and other people also, so we can help reach these young guys and see what else we can do to help them so they can stop shooting and killing one another on a higher level, because the mass shootings are out of control. You got people out here that figure some young people, they just, they call it the blitz. They blitz people with a lot of rainfall of bullets, and no regard for who's out there, the mothers, the grandmothers, the kids, no regard. So those type of individuals probably have to be dealt with a different way, everybody. So there's a need for some higher level attention placed on the city. Maybe not the National Guard, but some higher level support to maybe curtail and help reduce some of this crazy stuff out here. Maybe
Is
just a
there
higher level police presence or something like that.
well, is there an upside to having the National Guard here? Because that's what he's proposing. He's not proposing a lot, allotting more money for the police. He's not doing that. He's sending in the National
Okay.
Guard. What's
Yeah, I
interesting
think
about
there's
the
a
National Guard? Well,
yeah,
hold on. The upside. The interesting about the not the upside. The
yeah,
interesting thing about the National Guard is that the officers are answerable to the Constitution. They swear an oath to that, but the rank and
right.
file swear an oath to the president. So it's a very interesting group. So what say you? Is there an upside? Are there downsides? What do you think?
You talking to me, Santita?
Yeah.
Oh, my fault. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's an upside to it because the military presence alone will stop some guys right in their tracks. Okay. When COVID was taking place over, throughout the nation and throughout the world, actually, the military was here in Chicago, the National Guard. And I remember driving down the street early in the morning, late at night, and I would actually just stop in my tracks. Not that I was doing anything wrong, but I was making sure I had my seatbelts on, made sure I wasn't running any lights and all that kind of stuff. So just on my level, I can imagine if young people were to see the military, if they thought about killing somebody, they may think twice because they don't want to come up against a perceived army. So there may be, like, for 1 week, if they were here, hypothetically speaking, I'm pretty sure that it would probably lead to a reduction because homicides are already down in Chicago by about 17% this year compared to last year. But Labor Day weekend didn't help us out at all because the
But it
numbers
never
went right
does.
back up during that weekend. Right,
Yeah,
right,
but
during that
how many
weekend.
weekends? They're anomalies in that regard. But
Yes,
hold that
yes.
hold that thought. Attorney Mark Fancher, you've heard Attorney Linda Bernard, you've heard Dwight McKee, you've heard Theo Hardeman. What say you? I mean, what is there an upside to having ICE on the street, the National Guard, the FBI, an enhanced presence, particularly in light of what happened in Maryland with this young man, and it's happened to more and more people. People have been brought in on what normally are misdemeanors, and they're being charged with felonies, and they're having to be knocked back down to misdemeanors. What do you think?
No, there is no upside to it. Before I get into trying to unpeel the many layers of this, I think we need to be honest about the fact that this is an academic question. This has nothing to do whatsoever with a pursuit of a remedy for the crime problem. This is simply Donald Trump's preparations for able to continue. I don't know if did I blank out there for a second?
No, you're here now.
Okay. Yeah, this is his effort to continue to establish martial law and maintain dominance of the federal government, military machinery, and so that he can preserve his position as dictator of the United States. But beyond that, if we want to consider it from the standpoint of those who are sincere about trying to address crime problems, we have to recognize two things. One, that the military is established for purposes of fighting wars. Their training, their objectives, their strategies are all aimed at going into areas and dominating them and destroying people, destroying property, and everything else. It has nothing to do with law enforcement. Their objective is to go in and to kill and subdue. That's what military personnel do. Police, and that's the reason that the law, the Constitution, the Posse Comitatus Act, and other things don't allow for the free and whimsical use of the military on domestic shores. Police are presumably there to preserve life, to protect and to serve. That's what they're supposedly there to do, and their training and their orientation are supposed to be very different. But notwithstanding the fact that that's what they're supposed to do, what they have actually done historically, particularly in Black communities, is to do the very things that military personnel are supposed to do, and that is to go in, dominate, subdue, and kill. Everyone from George Floyd to the litany of people that we can name who have been the victims of police violence. So if you've got a force of people, law enforcement personnel, whose objective, whose presumed mission is to preserve life, to protect life, and to defend citizens, if that's their objective, and what they do to Black people is to go in and destroy and kill them and to destroy their communities, why would we think that military personnel are going to be in a better position to go in and to deal with our community? And I just filed a case just a couple of weeks ago that really crystallizes the issue. In this case, a young Black man who's challenged by schizophrenia was found wandering around the streets of Warren, Michigan. He was taken in. He knew he had a mental health problem and was undergoing a mental health crisis. And he explained to the officer that that's what was going on. His mother called the police and told them he needs psychiatric care, he needs psychiatric intervention and assistance. They ignored all of that. They put him in a jail cell. And when he refused to follow their demands and directions, because he was really incapable of it at that point, he was delusional and just could not do it. Then what they did is they brought in about 14 or 15 officers into his cell. They beat him, they tasered him multiple times, they abused him, they had a canine that was there threatening him, they caused him serious injuries. And that's police who are doing that kind of thing. All right? Why do we think military personnel are going to do anything different? And, I can understand the reactions of some Black people who say, look, we're victims and we're experiencing a serious problem here. We're dealing with violence. I understand the reactions because sometimes people, when they're in a desperate situation, will call for desperate means to deal with it. I may, when I'm sitting in the comfort of my living room, I might be someone who is in favor of making sure that we preserve endangered species. But if you have, the Nepalese white leopard, who's an endangered species, I don't know if that's true or not. I just made that up. But if he's got his claws in my chest, and he's baring his fangs, and he's about to bite my head off, as much as I might, under other circumstances, want to preserve this species, at that moment, I want somebody to pull a bullet in that cat's head. And so I think that that's where many of these people are. And the unfortunate thing is that even if you take desperate measures to eliminate the immediate threat that these people face, it only kicks the can down the road, because the root problem, the reason that there is Black on Black crime, when you get right down to it, is something that's much wider and much deeper and much more profound about what America is. From the time that a young person of African descent is born in this country, they are told over and over in 1,000, maybe 1,000,000 different ways that their lives mean nothing, that they are worthless human beings, and they might not even be human, and that they are destined to become nothing, that they have no prospects for becoming productive human beings ever, and that they are really a burden on the society. They are something that it would be better off if they were not even in the society. And these young people, entire generations of them, begin to hate themselves. And not only do they hate themselves, they hate other people who look like them. And so that hatred manifests in a number of different ways. But one of the ways in which it manifests is by attacking and sometimes killing other people who look like them because they feel worthless. And this society, as vicious as it has been, as racist as it has been, as structurally racist as it has been, has eliminated all of the infrastructure and the social and family supports that would help to establish a certain degree of self-esteem and pride. And it has left these kids defenseless in terms of their establishment of a sense of self. Many of their parents have been dragged off and caught up in this mass incarceration craze that this country has, and they've had no contact whatsoever with male role models who might provide different guidance for them if they had been present in their lives. So many of them have been locked in poverty. So many of them have been deprived of opportunities for education and employment that would help to give meaning and purpose to their lives. And they're left to just function like wild animals. And you look at the media, how they're portrayed. You look at the videos. You look at the only images that they ever see of themselves if they're young men is of, you know, gangsters, people who are engaged in violence all the time. If they're young women, they're portrayed as being loose and wild and freaky. I mean, and so what else are they to think? They don't have access to any other images, and so they become violent with each other. And so we have to really realize the source of the problem when we're talking about trying to come up with a remedy. And a final thing I'll say is this, that there is a basic incongruity here, you know, a fundamental contradiction about the rhetoric that comes out of the White House and what the White House is actually doing. The White House says that what it is doing, it is addressing the problems of serious crime. And by addressing the most serious crimes with the most radical means, they're doing something that's helpful to the country. But if you look at where the most serious crime is, the most violent crime, it is not in these cities. It is in suburban schools where these primarily young white males go in and take out many, many people, many of them children, at one time. And at no point has it been suggested by Donald Trump or anybody else that what they need to do is to send the National Guard in to walk the hallways and the corridors of suburban white schools. And we can only imagine what the reaction would be if they ever suggested it. So to those Black people who say, yes, it's a good thing to bring the National Guard in to prevent violence, well, you understand that you are willingly going along with a very racist theory and a very racist approach. You're insulting your own people by suggesting indirectly and implicitly that they are pathological, that they are a sick people, and that there's no other way that they can be dealt with other than by the military. When in fact, there are many different ways that our people and our violence problem could be addressed if there were not an ongoing soft and cold war that was being waged against our people, as it has been since we first arrived on these shores back in 1619.
Well, let me find out from you, Tio. What say you?
Well, no, there was a lot of information there, and I must concur. There's a lot of systemic issues that we haven't got a chance to really face when it comes to the development of some of our young brothers and sisters here in Chicago. Now, I look at the numbers all the time, Santita. 80% of the gun violence occurs in the African-American community in Chicago. About another 18% occurs in the Latino community, and another 2% is like other. You know, so a lot of times we talk about the Black on Black violence. Some people may not want to mention the other types of violence, you know, in other cultures as well. But
well, all violence is intraracial.
Right.
People,
there you go.
Hurt. I mean, so even that number, you got to watch it because because the fact is most white on white crime exists because white people kill white people all day, every day.
Yes, exactly.
Black people do that. Everybody, you kill the people you're closest to. That's the way that works. But I think that Attorney Fancher, Mark, makes the point that no one's sending the troops into Columbine.
Yeah, I was about to
no
get
one's
to that.
sending them to Pearl. No, go right there. Don't bury the lead. Get right there. Because with these things, these shootings happen. It just happened in Minneapolis last week.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that.
Well, the mass shooting that took place in Highland Park, nobody thought about sending the National Guard there. And that's correct.
I mean, it happens regularly, Tio.
Yes. Right. And so that's just a part of a militaristic type of state. And really Donald Trump, his ego is at play here because he wants to be the man, and whatever he thinks about, he tries to carry it out. If he comes up with an idea overnight, next thing you know, in the morning, he wants to carry it out, like I said there. But at the same time, we need more resources in our community that can help us work with the young men out here and the young women, you know, on a higher level because, you know, if you ride through the city of Chicago, you look at some of the blighted communities, what do the young people have to look forward to? So I'm pushing resources on the front end for these young men. And then we know how to help them develop. We just need a level of resource. And when you talk about the job outlook, some young people, Santita, may not want to work right now. I've talked, and the reason I say this because I meet with a lot of young people and I work with them on a daily basis. Then some of them are not interested in working. They're making money on social media for whatever reason, you know, on different levels. But I would say, yeah, I agree
But
with
that's the
Attorney
design.
Fancher when it comes.
But
Yeah,
Teal,
go ahead.
that's the design. I mean, you have the
Yeah,
technocrats who are telling
right.
you Peter Thiel was interviewed. It's an interview that has gone viral. It just happened a couple of weeks ago. And
Okay.
he was asked if he felt that people would be necessary. He hesitated. And the interviewer said, wait a minute, you've paused a little bit too long. And he could not come up with, you know, people are necessary. What we're trying to do is X people out of the equation. That goes beyond Donald Trump. This is not Donald Trump. This goes way beyond him. He is a front man.
Yeah.
For the technocrats, please take his name out your mouth. Because you got to look at Peter Thiel, you got to look at Alex Karp, you got to look at Jeff Bezos, you got to look at all these
Yeah.
people. There is a
Yeah.
bigger plan here. That
He has a bigger underlying plan.
It's not him. His personality is so outsized. Everybody looks at him, but we don't want to look at the plan. We want to look at the man, and that's not helping us. Dwight, are you about to say something?
No, I'm listening.
Yeah. Well,
So I mean,
Santita, back to what
what do you think about? Because there are some people. I mean, and you have been supportive, and I'm not attacking you. I want to know what I don't do that. I want to know how you think. See, because we're in a civilian society,
right?
And for us to think that the ultimate, when we talk about the military, we talk about discipline. They exemplify all that we want to be. Doesn't your teacher do that?
Right.
I mean, the garbage man doesn't miss a day. The garbage woman doesn't miss a day. I mean, we give the accolades to the military, but we don't give that to anyone else who serves the country.
Well, I have to put this out there, Santita. I don't know if it would be popular or not, but the reality, myself being, you know, who I am and my expertise and knowledge of working with my people in the city of Chicago and throughout the nation, as crazy as it sounds, yeah, we don't need the National Guard, but we need some kind of black guard for our community. I'm talking about for our community. I'm not talking about for all the communities, for our community. And I say this based on a model of, when man, it's hard to really convey it, but like when the street organizations were in control, like you had the leadership, nothing could actually move. Nobody could just shoot somebody and just get away with it. And there was like a system in place. I'm not advertising. I'm not trying to be a supporter of the street organization. I want to make that clear. But you had some type of order. You couldn't just do what you wanted to do.
Hold that thought, Dwight. Why don't you pick it up from there? Because he has lived through that period. Tio.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the period pretty good.
We've had that before, Dwight.
Yeah, it's I think that if Trump was serious about stopping crime or reducing crime, he would invest in the people like T.O. who are already involved in doing that and has been successful in doing that. All of a sudden, he's concerned about Chicago, Illinois. As he cuts the budget in Washington, D.C., as he cuts the budget for a fourth of the population there, it's just incongruous to me. It's inconsistent to me.
I mean, Dwight, as they're cutting healthcare, as they're cutting education, they're cutting all of you. What you are, Tio, you are what we call wraparound services. What I mean, because I thought that calling for the defunding of the police. I said that's not what you're calling for. So your messaging is way off. It's about refunding the police. That is to say, you need people like Tio. We need psychologists. We need psychiatrists. We need social workers. We need retired teachers, grandmamas, granddaddies, people who can reach young people or anyone who's in trouble. And that is not what they're trying to do. Any part of that social safety net this administration and the technocrats, quite frankly, the technocracy, are eliminating. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, but let me play the devil's advocate for a second here. I have to bring the hardcore reality to your listeners and viewers here. There was a 43-year-old lady that was just shot and killed by 4 men on 131st Street in Argyle Gardens area. The 4 guys jumped out the car and blasted her down. 4 guys killing 1 woman. All right. The list goes on and on. We've had some of the most heinous crimes committed in Chicago. I mean, forever, for decades. Don't get me wrong. We're in the year 2025 now, but you have a whole lot of these guys are getting these. They have access to these automatic weapons. I believe if the military could do anything, they need to help stop the flow of automatic weapons for ending up, in the hands of these young guys out here. Everybody, because they got these guns now. They call them when they put freckles on your face. That means they had a laser on your face. They're not going to miss. These guys have 70. They can shoot at you 70 times. So if you have a regular automatic, semi-automatic weapon with 13 shots, these guys have enough ammunition to take out 70 people at one time. People are being shot at funerals. One guy came back and killed everybody, almost an entire family at a funeral. I think it was somewhere in Pittsburgh. And so the reality is that we need higher level help. Don't get me wrong. It's not the military, but I believe in a Black National Guard. That's what I believe in, a Black National Guard, to go out here and take our communities over and do the right thing for the next generation of our people. You have to think about all the young people that are not involved in any kind of street life at all, and they're terrified out here. You have parks with nobody even playing in the parks in Chicago right now. You have young kids that are terrified to even go to school.
Absolutely, but Tio,
I'm serious. I'm serious about that.
Tio, it's not your community, it's my community. I grew up in Chicago.
Right.
And
I understand.
No. I'm just saying, I grew up in Chicago. Did I grow up in the projects? No, I didn't do that. And
that's fine.
Was it? No. Of course it's fine. That's how I grew up, and I'm fine with that. What I'm saying is this: we're all touched by this, all of us. My question is, I am concerned that we think that the only remedy for this is the military. Now, that to me is very, very dangerous, because that means you're telling me that, what is tragic is that we're not looking at how the culture's been degraded, Mark. Morally, everything is off. And I don't think that Dwight and Mark and Tio bringing the military in is going to make us a more moral, less death-centric culture. That's what we have right now.
And it's not his goal. His goal is not to stop reduced crime. His goal is not to make the community safer. It's a pretext. He studies Hitler. He saw the first thing Hitler did was turn his political party into the red shirts. He's not as secure about Mega making a move like he did last time. And so he's trying to show his bets by putting together his own militia, his own military. I just think that he will suffer. The result is going to be more Mussolini than Hitler. But I think that he's making a calculated mistake, thinking that the people are going to sacrifice everything they believe for his sake. Much of what they believe, yes, not everything.
What do you think the miscalculation is?
People's identity with democracy in the United States. These people here, white people here, are patriots before they're anything. They identify themselves, they define themselves. It's that flag and that Bible, mostly that flag. And so when you get to the nitty gritty and try to reduce that to
totalitarianism,
totalitarianism, you run into some problems because people they can't process that part of it yet. And that's why I say he may end up more Mussolini than Hitler. That's what happened to Mussolini.
And the difference being between them?
So
for those of us whose histories don't go back that far.
One committed suicide, Hitler. Mussolini didn't have to get that far. They took They hung him on the light pole. His own people,
Right.
Why did they do that?
because he was trying to create a dictatorship and was a role model for Hitler.
Yeah.
But again, he miscalculated. He, he was a role model for Hitler, but he misunderstood the difference between the Roman culture, the Italian culture, which goes back 3,000 to 4,000 years, and the German culture, which was an evolving culture coming out of feudalism. And so the people didn't have that kind of identity in themselves. They were looking for somebody to be. The Romans
Mm.
already believed they were somebody. They was looking for somebody to just to be that with.
Well, Bernadette says they need to stop dropping the assault weapons in the community, Mark. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the point.
they're
That's exactly where I wanted to go with it because
go
I
there.
think I think that we really have to be honest about the fact that the idea of the U.S. government waging war against its own people has a long history, and communities that have been regarded as a threat to those in power, they've never had any reluctance or hesitation to go and to try and wipe them out. And we can recall how back in the 1990s, they dropped not only crack cocaine into the California streets, but also high powered weapons with the idea of disorienting and killing off Black people in the community because Black people were considered to be a real threat. They were regarded as a rebellious community, a community that had demonstrated time and time again the willingness to go out and to engage in insurrection and rebellion and that type of thing. And so they have the Freedom of Information Act has disclosed any number of documents from the CIA files and FBI files that talk about very calculated efforts that were made and have been made in order to kill large numbers of Black people who are perceived to be overly militant. So we have to understand that at the outset. But we've moved to a point now where it's not just Black people who are perceived to be a threat. The MAGA crew, the January 6th crew, also is perceived to be a threat. And the use of the National Guard is just setting the stage for militarizing the entire country so that you can lock down not just communities of color, but these white working class people who want to give Donald Trump, who will want to give Donald Trump the Mussolini treatment once they come to the realization that he has betrayed them too. But, T.O. was talking about how the viciousness of the crimes that were committed by, these people, and we have to understand that people have really been reduced to the status of wild animals. They have lost any connection with God. They have no spiritual orientation or sense of purpose. Their communities have been degraded. They don't have family structure. They have nothing to live for. They're just existing from moment to moment, in a wild sort of a state. And that's not something that you remedy by bringing in military troops. That only makes the problem worse because you're basically responding to them as you would respond to escaped wild animals. We really, really need to think about this in a comprehensive way, understand who the true enemies are, what the real agenda is here when they start bringing National Guard troops in, and to some extent, functioning independently as we develop our own remedies. Fred Hampton was able to transform street gangs into community service organizations. It's not like that can't be done now. It just requires a level of commitment and focus and clarity of analysis within the community to understand that that's something that must happen. Because most times, young people who join gangs are doing it because they're trying to find a sense of purpose, they're trying to find a place where they belong. And if you offer them the opportunity to do positive things instead of destructive things, more often than not, they're going to opt to do the positive things for their families and for the communities that they love.
Well, correctional officer for the lockdown says the conspiracy theories has Big Brother dropping a parachute trailer of drugs and weapons in urban communities. This is overkill. No, actually, Gary Webb, may he rest in peace, and he came to speak at Operation Push at the Rainbow Push at the Operation Push Forum. Mark Fancher and Dwight McKee. He was a brilliant reporter who uncovered the fact that our government had dropped crack cocaine into the Black community, not only to destroy it, but to make money for Iran-Contra. Remember that, Mark? And he was harassed. And then they said he allegedly took himself out using the wrong hand, of course. So these are not conspiracy theories. And I can have a conspiracy theory, doesn't mean that it's not true. That did happen.
Yeah, and if there's any doubt about that, there's a book that Gary Webb wrote that's very thick and very well documented called Dark Alliance. If it's not in circulation or in print, it's certainly in libraries. And I encourage everybody to read that. He very carefully documents how all of this happened and how it was a connection between, poisoning the Black community and at the same time financing those who were trying to bring down what was perceived to be a leftist government in Nicaragua.
Oliver North. Oliver North.
Oliver North, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that. So, I hear you, but you say that people who join gangs are weak and without a strong father male figure. Gang members serve no purpose. Well, I mean, there is a lot going on. Remember the song "Keep Away From Me," Mr. Welfare, written for the movie Claudine by the great Curtis Mayfield. There has been a war on Black families since we have been here. It was illegal for us to form them. It was illegal for us to marry, to keep our children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that war has not stopped. But now we're beginning to see that it wasn't personal. Mark and Dwight, it's now beginning to hit everybody. What you say, these white working class families are beginning to feel it. And so, so Dwight, I only have a few more minutes left here. I mean, so what do you see? Because I'm wondering, the speculation is that when Mexican independence is celebrated, that the troops will be sent into Chicago. And of course, we're not being told when they're supposed to come. I guess they're just supposed to show up. So what say you?
I think keep your eyes on the real issue, I think, which is this sex scandal that's about to kick in. And it's very layered. And the fact that there's some Republicans calling for transparency there, tell you there's a there. So I think this will be a lot about nothing when it's all said and done, because I don't think it has sticking power. There's sending soldiers here that don't want to be here to a lot of people who don't want to have them here.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no reason that you can justify
for them to be.
Yeah, for them to be here. So I think that it's going to go right back to Epstein and what's going on there. That's what I think. I think this is a ploy, dog shaking the tail. It's not going to work.
So you think the Epstein story is that big?
Oh, it's going to get that big, yeah. I think it's that deep. It ain't as big as it is deep and wide. And the people that are involved, including a lot of his family.
Mm-hmm. When you say it's deeper than it is big, what do you mean?
I think that it's the people involved got the most to lose. It's not a story like, what's happening in Gaza, which is very wide and deep. It's more of the very personal, with a very select few people who are involved, but they are profoundly involved. And the residue from it all is going to cost people their careers, and some even people their freedom. Don't discount this rally here today,
Mhm.
the victims
Oh,
in the White House, in front of the White House.
well, in front at the base of the steps of the Capitol.
That's
That
right.
was a deep kind of thing to see. And it's something for us to it's something for us to continue to look at, because this is about trafficking. This is about political blackmail, shaping political policy. There's a whole lot that goes with this. Mark Fancher, what's your closing thought?
I actually don't get too alarmed or surprised when I see the federal government deploying troops into Black communities. Um, but I do get concerned when the community itself, uh, for some reason, believes that this is being done in their best interest.
Mm.
And because that is evidence of the fact that there's not a lot of analysis going on. There's a deficit in terms of an understanding of history, and a deficit with respect to the degree to which our community is organized and in a position to bring clarity to how people process these developments. So it really is a signal that we have a lot of work that we need to do in terms of education. And beyond that, we really have a lot of work to do in terms of uh, bringing our community back to a spiritual orientation that helps to provide the best defense against these kinds of things, which is a sense of self and dignity and connection to the Creator.
Thank
Mm.
you, everybody. Stay tuned for the second hour of the Santita Jackson Show. Let's continue this discussion, because some people say that there are upsides to this, but I see a lot of downsides, everybody. I agree with you, Attorney Fancher and Dwight McKay. We can't participate in our own destruction. And not just to disrupt the destruction of the Black community. I'd say of the broader American community. We are a family, everybody. And at the end of the day, um, we do not need to become a military state. None other than Dwight Eisenhower told us that. He said, don't do this. This is new to the American experience. And the material and spiritual impact. He foresaw this day that if the military industrial complex was unchecked, he foresaw a day that the Republic would be at risk. And that is where we are, everybody. So come on over to the second hour of the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of Progressive Minnesota.